Well, guys, they kicked me off for some reason, and I didn't realize it while I was in my stream. That sucks. It apparently recorded 40 minutes of my stream. I was streaming for an hour and a half. So, what is that? Missed out on another 40 minutes, basically. That sucks. I don't know where I left off. Somebody tell me. I can't even tell you what. I'm looking at the basic questions that were asked. I didn't even get to your guys' questions. That is unfortunate. It's not even giving me a live view of the questions on the previous. Did something happen in the comments? Like, what happened? What's up, Negantropic Phantom? I don't know if you caught earlier or not, but something happened to my stream. That was such a great stream too. I'm going to have to start recording these other than just this because that was a great stream. It was legitimately a great stream. And I want to continue with it, but I feel a little bit upset that it didn't save and that they kicked me off and I didn't realize it. It's bringing my vibe down a little bit. Dang, that sucks. I wasn't here for the first half of the last stream, so the first 40 minutes. Well, the first half recorded. That's what I'll say. The first half recorded. The second half did not. But I don't even know how many people were on or what was asked. That sucks, guys. I must have said something that kicked it off. I wonder what it was. I said something about I was speaking about gender. I wonder if that's what did it. Which is just insane. It's so insane. If we can't talk about gender, we're never going to talk about meaning. We can't do it. You can't talk about meaning without gender. I'm looking to try and see where I left off. I guess I didn't really build with you guys. Anyways, I just tuned in for the first time tonight. Oh, well, there wasn't a first half. That's the issue. I streamed for an hour and a half, and then something happened, and it cut, and it only posted 40 minutes. But basically, I was talking about meaning and how we have lost the understanding of meaning. And keep Discord up so if it goes down again, I can notify you. Yeah, I'm going to have to do that because, or something, I'll let you know, but I'll make it so that someone can notify me. But yeah, I went over this. This is what we built. But everybody missed. We're talking about meaning and how we're applying the binary triality to meaning. And yeah. So basically, Eric Weinstein divided meaning into proximate meaning and ultimate meaning. And I defined ultimate meaning as when you impact another, and proximate meaning as when you are impacted. And the sentience is the constraint that both of these two exist in. Okay? Because when you are impacted, you are you as a sentient being. And when you impact another, you are impacting another sentient being. And that there's no meaning outside of impacting another sentient being. That basically in this talk that I was listening to last night, when people were talking about atoms and molecules not being sentient, that they basically implied that, and that when we reduce existence down to just atoms and molecules in science, we are basically destroying the idea that meaning exists. And it also sets it up for a war with, theological perspective, I guess you could say. And I think that both are wrong. The reality is that atoms and molecules and hadrons are sentient beings that we are part of a lineage with, and that actually means that all there is sentience. And if all there is sentience, then sentience is all of matter, and that means that what matters is matter, or matter is what matters, and that basically sentience is it is the constraint that is inescapable when it comes to truly understanding what existence is. And I would say sentience is primal to what we would describe as matter, but it's not. It's really not separable. It's like heads not being separable from tails. Existence is a coin composed of matter and sentience. They are two perspectives of one coin. They are not actually separate things. We've turned sentience and consciousness into something that is this like esoteric, abstract nonsense that we all know is intrinsically or inherently, at least feels important, but is not actually viewable or measurable in a scientific or logical context. And I think that's totally wrong. Atoms are sentient. And when you realize that, it makes it so that now you don't have to try and understand what meaning is. Meaning is implied. Its existence and its importance are implied. And also not only its existence and importance, but its definition. It's what defines it, its constraints, its contexts. It's only within the context of sentience that meaning exists. And we've separated sentience from science. And we look to people like Sam Harris, whose empty worldview is trying to find sentience inside of a brain by studying, by being a neuroscientist. It's like, you're not going to understand consciousness by being a neuroscientist or understanding neuroscience. What the heck is that? How is that even an understanding of being? It can't lead to the understanding of being, because you're just understanding another material structure that isn't transcendent. But when you understand that consciousness, or sentience, which more specifically, is not just a brain, it is a mind, and a mind is beyond the brain. It is the totality of your senses summing to an entanglement point that organizes that information into categories and into a hierarchy, and that all the inputs that go into your sentience or into your mind is not just even your own physicality, but also the assembly of the perspectives of the lower levels of sentience that are within you, like cells and molecules and atoms and hadrons, and not just the input of your senses, but also of your environment as well. This is like where Jordan Peterson says, clean your room. Clean your room. It's true. You want to organize your mind? Clean your room. It's not because it's a metaphor. It's because it's literal. It's super literal that you organize your mind when you clean your room. So basically, I'm turning meaning into this binary triality pattern that we know exists everywhere, from mathematical order of operations, like I said, all the way through the matter particles and, rocks, even colors. So when we're looking for this one, which is basically going to be impacting beyond basically, like, I'm trying to describe not when you're just impacting someone else, like if I give someone charity, if I give someone $5 on the street, that is impacting someone else. I'm trying to describe impacting your previous generations, and your succeeding generations. Impacting generations. Maybe that's it. Impacting after you, impacting before you. You could also do impacting another. And that these would be basically the two directions of either ultimate and proximate meaning, which are the two sides of the one coin that is meaning. Proximate meaning is, like I said, it is you being impacted. So Bach is meaningful because you are impacted by it, or like some piece of art. It's meaningful when you are impacted by it. But the thing is that if you don't realize that the emphasis has to be on you being impacted, as opposed to saying when something is meaningful. This is wrong. So if you say this, if this is what you're trying to do, proximate meaning, and you say here, this would be when something is meaningful. When you are impacted. Okay? This is correct. Wait, no. When. And this is not. Okay? And that's because you're implying that what is attributing the meaning, or you're basically saying something is intrinsically meaningful here. So like, I don't know, Kanye West's last album is meaningful. If I said that, that's not correct. It's that I am impacted by that album, and that's why it is meaningful, or why meaning is manifested. Okay, not even that why that is meaningful. It's that why meaning is manifested is because of me here. But here, you would say that the album is intrinsically meaningful, even outside of a listener that is impacted, and that is false. Okay? So this is true. So if you wanted to do this as well with ultimate meaning, it's when you impact another. Let's capitalize you and another. Here I just capitalize these because, I don't know, I was just being consistent. But this is purposeful. This would be correct. When you impact another sentient being. What's incorrect is when you say, I am meaningful because I am. I don't want to do capitalize those, actually. Normally, I was just being consistent, but I am is a very special phrase, and it is attributed to God, and God is what I'll say a lot. So that's, and he says I am, and I say God is. He is, but God created because God was not even intrinsically meaningful without multiplicity of consciousness. So if there's no one else to impact, then he's meaningless, even if he's God. If he's all there is that exists and nothing else, not even in that superposition state where he, of the many and the one, where we exist as sovereign beings, but also not, because we are part of God. God, if without that structure of multiplicity of consciousness contained with and created within his oneness, he would be meaningless even himself. Even God is meaningless without impacting another sentient being. So you can't say this, I am meaningful because I am. That doesn't actually work. I mean, actually, in a weird way, we can do that, because saying I am meaningful, if I said I have meaning because I am, it means like I have meaning because I exist, and that in reality is only because of God, and because of previous generations, and and previous periods of sentience that chose order. But it doesn't really work for God, because our existence implies the existence of a preceding sentience of some kind. God's does not. God's existence does not imply a preceding sentience at all, because that's just a unique trait of sentient existence. So this is false for ultimate meaning, which is, basically God from a God's eye view. But from us, yeah, this actually is true. But then this one is true for both. This is true, and this is false perspective. It's not meaningful that you have the biggest, coolest collection of baseball cards. It's not intrinsically. But it is meaningful when you I don't know, donate that collection of baseball cards, or the profits that you gain from the selling of a baseball card, you donate that money to helping another person, then meaning is manifested. But the manifestation of meaning only occurs when one sentience impacts another. And it's not a zero-sum game. Like people talked about, like, or last night in a hierarchy. It's like, if for you to ascend the hierarchy, you have to go above others in the hierarchy, which basically means that they lose. So it's a zero. It's a zero-sum game in a way. It's like, it's not, everybody can't win outside of meaning. In meaning, only everybody can win. Okay? Because if I give someone $5 on the street who needs it, I am, that meaning is being manifested that makes me meaningful and them meaningful, because I can't be meaningful without them being meaningful, and they can't be meaningful without me being meaningful. That's why it's better to say meaning is manifested. It's different. Let's see. Also notice you got kicked. Yeah, I totally got kicked off. Sorry, Esteban, and everybody who was listening. Yeah, but it was a great stream regardless. I'm going to put these two together and talk about it because it was just too good. I'm not going to abandon it. I spoke for probably like 40 minutes without people listening, which sucks because that means that was meaningless. Okay? That was meaningless because nobody heard me. It's like the bear does a if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's there to hear it, doesn't make a sound. It's like, well, the metaphor is accurate in pointing out something, but obviously a tree is someone, and so is every single molecule and atom in that tree, and cell in that tree. But basically, if I'm broadcasting to nobody, it's basically like it's meaningless. But I can make that screw up that happened earlier meaningful by trying to improve on what I had said when nobody was listening, and reiterate what I had said that was good when nobody was listening, to now when people are listening. So you can salvage meaning, but you have to salvage it. It has to impact others. But for those who were not here, this is about, the stream is about the math of meaning, is what the name of my first streams ever was actually called. You can see that here. So we go to like super old school stream all the way back. And this is, by the way, this video I'm about to show you is very old and from my personal channel. It's not even from this channel. I just re-uploaded it. So, but this is about God. White blood cell. And this white blood cell, he walks up to this red blood cell and he says, "Do you believe in humans?" The red blood cell says, "No way, man. I don't believe in humans." White blood cell says, "Why not?" And the red blood cell says, "Have you ever seen one?" And the white blood cell says, "No." And the red blood cell says, "Well, then, it's stupid to believe in humans." Math of Meaning. That was the original OG intro, OG font. And that's what happens when you don't have your fiance, who's, you know, a gifted graphic designer, design your logo. This is what you get. But this is basically kind of like the manifestation of what I always originally wanted to talk about. Even before that was made before I had any understanding of physics, I had any interest in physics. I didn't think I had discovered the theory of everything. I just was like, oh, yeah, I've realized I'm really good at philosophy and morality and meaning and things like that. God, I just wanted to talk. But that's how old that is. Basically, this topic is very important because nobody understands it, and you must, in order to have any kind of order in society. What's the point of even creating order if meaning doesn't exist? What's the point of building a future if meaning doesn't exist? What's the point of treating others with dignity and grace and kindness if meaning doesn't exist? What's the point of defending anything that you value? Anyone that you value is really the way that you should be. If meaning doesn't exist, everything breaks down without it. Everything. And it's not that we have to abandon material science in order to rediscover meaning. You have to continue material science and realize this is the logos that is the periodicity of sentience, a superposition of multiplicity in one on various layers, leading to oneness being a constraint again right here, and then a restarting of the system. But it's not that the problem with our worldview that leads us to nihilism and hedonism is that all that exists is hadrons and atoms and molecules. It's that we don't realize that hadrons and atoms and molecules and cells and organisms and families and castes and technological singularities or nations are all all of them, every level is sentient. And not only that, but also sentient. Just like this is one and multiple at the same time, this is one and multiple at the same time, this is one and multiple at the same time. This existence is one and multiple at the same time. Sentient universe. In this framework, meaning is implied. It's contextualized, it's understood as the point of creation, the point of life. It is the point. I said on the previous half of this, that before it got cut, that Eric Weinstein said, the meaning of life is the struggle to impart meaning onto meaning. And I think that that's true, but it's too difficult, I think, for most people to understand. But the thing is that that's fine. Because if this is properly understood as being this, then you don't have to try to teach somebody what meaning is. They can just understand it. It just makes sense. But if this isn't conscious, and this isn't conscious, and this isn't conscious or sentient, and this isn't conscious or sentient, and this isn't even conscious or sentient if you're Sam Harris, and neither is this or this or this or this, it's like, good luck finding any meaning. It's a self-defeating ideology. You can't be Sam Harris and be consistent and be like, yeah, there's no such thing as sentience or sovereign sentience or free will, which is really the definer of sovereign sentience, is the ability to make choices. That if that doesn't exist, he fights for political justice and social justice and scientific justice, and he thinks that the purpose of human life is to maximize human flourishing. It's like, what's the point of that if we just come from unconsciousness? It's not consistent. He's wrong. He's completely wrong. Sometimes I think about like why people listen to Sam Harris, because I used to listen to Sam Harris too, and then now I go back and I listen to Sam Harris and I'm like, why did I do that? But there's obviously, he has meaning, obviously, because he's here and a sentience put him here. Okay? And the fact that he is here and that he had children helps manifest meaning between him and every generation prior and every generation after him. And the fact that I'm talking about him now. Even just to use his worldview as an example of something that's wrong, it's still meaning. So, not to rip on Sam Harris too hard, but he is wrong. Like, very, very wrong. Okay, well, let's see here. Anyways, I hope this makes some sense. I don't know how much got caught and how much got cut from the previous stream, so I will be eventually probably just redoing this topic, because it's important that it's all one, stream, I think. And also that it's not interrupted by me talking about the fact that they cut me for some reason, talking about gender. But I think that this was good to open it up and just kind of start this discussion, at least. And I think the next stream where I talk about this will be called Manifesting Meaning. But because that is the real way of thinking about meaning, is that you have to manifest it, or that it is manifested in between the interaction between one sentience and another. If you don't realize that, anything else that you pursue is going to end up resulting in failure. How can translating truth work nowadays? Okay. I see what you're looking at. You're looking at right here. So if ultimate meaning is when you impact another sentient being, and proximate meaning is when you are impacted really by another sentient being. Then, and I wrote this here as, the 2 degrees of freedom of, the manifestation of proximate and ultimate meaning. One of them is understanding truth. One of them is translating truth. Understanding truth was basically like this mathematician on the stream on the call that Eric Weinstein did about meaning. Basically, he said, he's basically saying I'm an atheist, but translating truth is like when he said he gets meaning when he is understanding the language of the universe. But he said, I feel meaning, or I believe it's meaningful for me to, when I'm unraveling something mathematical, that is, he's like, I feel like I'm understanding a language that only the universe speaks. And the thing is, though, is he needed to anthropomorphize the universe in order to actually make that meaningful, because meaning only exists in the context of impact on sentience by sentience. Okay. You can't not anthropomorphize the universe and say that mathematics is meaningful. It's not. You need, even in mathematics, a sentient being to either, in subjective mathematics, attribute meaning to the numbers and calculations and functions that are being done. So, like, if I'm trying to calculate how many of something that I need, it needs me as a sentient being in order to attribute meaning to any of the numbers that come out of that calculation. Also, when we look at math that is abstract and not about, calculating something here within the universe, and we're just trying to understand the laws of the universe, it's meaningful because existence is a sentient being. The universe is a sentient being. If it's not, then understanding its rules and laws is meaningless. Until even though you use those laws and rules in order to impact other sentient beings. And then, even then, though, like I would say, it's wrong to think that the universe or that existence is not sentient. But even if that were true, understanding its rules would be meaningless unless you were going to use that understanding to impact another sentient being, like another person or generations after you, which is really also simultaneously impacts the generations prior to you, because it makes them meaningful, because you could not be where you are without them, and you could not be going where you're going even without them. So, but basically, understanding truth is that when that mathematician said, when I'm at my whiteboard and I am understanding math, it feels like I'm getting that it's meaningful because I'm understanding a language only the universe speaks. That's understanding truth, right here. Understanding the rules of the universe. If you're listening to this is understanding truth. But translating truth is like, late at night I do, work here and just, all over all kinds of things, trying to understand the standard model better, trying to understand math better, trying to understand various philosophical concepts better, and building philosophical models and contextualizing things that we see into those philosophical models. That is me understanding truth with a capital T. which is a sentient being. The truth with the capital T is sentient. Sentient truth. But then the next step after that is me coming on here and teaching what I have learned. And that's translating sentient truth. Okay? And this one is meaningful when I'm working to understand God or existence better, and I'm by myself, and I'm not streaming. It is still meaningful. Meaning is being manifested because I'm being impacted by God, which means it's meaningful for him and for me. Meaning is manifested between the two of us. But then also, if I come on here and I'm translating the truth to others, like when somebody said that they found Bach very meaningful, it's like, okay, Bach was translating mathematical rules of harmony and rhythm and tempo and sound. He was taking what he understood about truth. And Bach said, I'm pretty sure, that he believed he was like channeling God, and it's obvious that he was. And then he translates it by putting it into a symphony and speaking it to others, or by playing it to others within the universe. So these are the two ways in which you can understand and then translate the truth. How do you translating the truth is taking what you know to be true about existence, okay, and then spreading it to other sentient beings. This is like why one of my big questions was like, why did God give me this like incredible ability to do this kind of philosophy work and this mathematical work and this physics work, and like, why did he show me, and why does he show me the universal patterns or pattern? And I was like thinking about this a lot. Is like, do I make this a path of my actions? Do I believe that I'm supposed to write papers or start podcasting or start and speaking to others via video or audio or whatever, like, or is this just for me and I'm just supposed to also go and get like another job that's like not about this? And you got to do what you got to do to survive always. But I think that the focus should be me translating this to the world, because your talents are not for the sake of you. Tony Hawk is not a great skateboarder for the sake of Tony Hawk. He's a great skateboarder for the sake of everyone else that's not Tony Hawk. That's true of philosophy as well. If you are a great philosopher, it's not for the sake of you at all. I mean, maybe partially if you really enjoy it, and if you, philosophy's particular because the application of its lessons can help you live a better life. But like skateboarding, it's about either enjoyment and then also like impacting others who enjoy skateboarding. But like, it's not there's life lessons and everything, but it's not as direct as the life lessons of philosophy, obviously. But you'll learn things in any kind of pursuits. But it's not, your talents are not for you. And one of the other things that I noticed is that, there are other incredible philosophers. I listened to a long interview of Chris Langan for the first time last week. It was the best philosophy discussion I've ever heard. He's brilliant, and not just because he has a high IQ, but he has the right perspective and a high IQ, which helps. But the right perspective is really what matters. And one of the things that I've noticed about my abilities with philosophy is not just my ability to not intrinsically, but to work out problems in my own head. But when once I was speaking to Robert Edward Grant, and I showed him my chart that is the periodicity of the lineage of matter right here. Okay. And he looked at this and he said, I've never seen it so simplified. And neither have I. I don't know how, but I haven't. And that is not something that's for the sake of you. Like, if you are good at translating something, then it implies, at least to me, that you are supposed to translate it to others. So that is the translating of truth in today's times. Is like, and that can be done in any way. If you're Bach, your translation of truth is to make symphonies. I can't make symphonies, or at least not right now. I still have not cracked the musical code, even though I can see that music is probably the most, it is the language. It's not even of existence. It's even more so than mathematics. Mathematics is some of the constraints of music, but the thing is about music is that music, at least our current, academic understanding of mathematics, is certainly not the language of the universe. But there is a meta-mathematics that certainly is the language of the universe, which is more like this type of mathematics. But this is music, because you can attribute meaning to specific numbers based on the context that they pop up in. But with music, you can express feelings via math. Or emotion is a better way to put it. You can express emotion via math. And emotion is something that is experienced by sentience. Sentient being is a feeling being. That's the definition. Something that feels. It doesn't just think. It doesn't just compute and calculate. It feels. And in order to feel, yes, you do need to compute and calculate. That is true. Anybody that says otherwise doesn't understand. But you can calculate and not feel. And if you do that, then you are just a MacBook Pro. And that is not a sentient being. A MacBook Pro is not a sentient being. It's not a consciousness. Sentience is a consciousness is basically a superposition between a feeling and calculating entity, or feeling and perceiving, or a computing and feeling entity, which is really a perceiving and calculating entity. It's a superposition even there. Every single objective structure is a superposition, including meaning. It has to be broken down into two sides of one coin. Meaning is value, like I said. A coin is a representative of value, and you can't have a coin without heads and tails. You cannot have value or meaning without proximate and ultimate, sides of that meaning. And the proximate and ultimate sides of meaning would be defined as when you are impacted, this is ultimate meaning, when you are or approximate meaning is when you are impacted. And it's going to intrinsically be by another sentient being because existence is a sentient being. And if you don't think that it is, then you cannot claim that math is meaningful until you apply it to help another person inside of existence or another sentient being within existence. So there is no meaning that is found by you understanding the universe if the universe is not sentient. It doesn't exist. But if you take that understanding and then you apply it to helping people, then sure. But you're still wrong. But it's at least, yeah, that would be meaningful. And here, ultimate meaning, when you impact another sentient being. Then these would be the generations, or the it's like this would be the past, this would be the future, and then this would be the present. Approximate and ultimate meaning. And so ultimate meaning is either impacting another or impacting generations, past and future simultaneously. So it's like transcendent more. It's more forceful. But it's also simultaneous. So approximate meaning, which is when you are impacted, is either when you are understanding truth, which is a sentient being, but even if it's not, and if it's not, then understanding truth is not intrinsically meaningful. It's not. Translating truth could be intrinsically meaningful because you're translating it to others, but understanding truth is not intrinsically meaningful unless existence is a sentient being. It's just not. I mean, unless whatever truth you are understanding is now going to truly impact you, like really, not just like now you know something new that is irrelevant to your life. No, if you learn something that's relevant to your life, then you are impacted. But then it wouldn't be proximate meaning. It would be ultimate. Anyways, I'm definitely going to do another stream on this. Now that we've made this model, I'm going to expand upon it a little bit, define it more, clean it up, and we'll do another stream on meaning because it's just the most important topic in the world. It is the reason for the world. In some way, meaning needs a language or models. It needs a modality, an understood modality, which is always, meaning is, to sum it up, sentience being impacted. Okay? That is not just you impacting you, and you can't impact yourself. Like, it is always sentience impacting another sentience, is really what it is. But some people won't be able to see that if they believe existence is not a sentient being. They are wrong. And, you know, there's mathematical evidence of that. And, you know, observational evidence of that. And almost logical proof of that. But, you know, saying my logic is better than your logic is kind of difficult to back up until, you know, it's objectively proven by the circumstances of the world. So, anyways, thank you guys for being here. I know it totally got screwed up and split the streams. This was great though, regardless, and we're gonna have to just do a cleaner stream on this again, which is fine because this is, like I said, this is the most important topic. And I called this Meaning 2.0 because to highlight the idea that meaning, in order to be understood, needs to be broken down into two sides of one coin. It cannot be understood any other way, really. But Yeah, we're gonna do another stream on this probably this week, or next week, very soon. It's sucks that it got cut, but there's a reason why everything happens if you make that the case, especially. And that's not cheating. You just have to know what it means to make that the case. Peace. And we'll figure out a way to be able to see whether or not this ever happens again, where it just cuts. I don't know what I said. I said something that made it cut. Probably was talking about gender. This is why, though, I will say, if you are not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe to this channel. Hit the like button. Also, go to my website, sentientsingularity.com. Scroll down to the front of the homepage and sign up for my email list, because they are going to censor me. They will cut this entire channel out one day, unfortunately, but they will. And, message me for our Discord link. Join the Discord where we can talk about topics without being cut. And follow me on Instagram, Theory of Everyone. And follow me on Twitter, Tyler Marshall Goldstein. Just follow me everywhere that you can. And we definitely will be able to overcome the censorship, but you have to actively fight it, and not fight it by just fighting the platforms. You have to build new. So subscribe to my email list. Also, if you'd like to support the project on Patreon, there is a Patreon link below. And there was one last thing I was going to say. It's important. I don't know. For next time, I guess. But like I said, thanks, guys, and we'll talk to you tomorrow at 7:20 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Peace.